Hey guys, Tony Maritato here. In today's training video, I'm going to show you how I create templates specifically for evaluations and plan of care within HelloNote that saves me a ridiculous amount of time. But first, a little context. I think it's important we have this discussion around documentation. We always have to understand what is the functional role of documentation in the treatment plan? Who are we documenting for? What are we trying to achieve with documentation? Of course, there are guidelines we have to abide by. State Practice Act. We have to satisfy the state board. We have to satisfy the third party payer when we're going through insurance or third party reimbursement. We have to manage liability. We have to understand there's a whole bunch of individuals and entities involved in the documentation requirement. But what I want to do here is I want to show you kind of that sweet spot between what can be pre-populated and what should be unique to the individual. I want to show you how I build a HelloNote template for a generalized knee pain condition. Because truthfully, I mean, there's a lot of consistency across that condition. And there are things that we want to document based on the condition, and there are things that we want to document based on the human. We're going to use HippoScribe AI technology for documenting things like the subjective report and other elements that are unique to the individual patient. But then we're going to use HelloNote templates to create documentation frameworks for the condition. I personally have never met somebody who comes to me with a non-surgical condition of knee pain, typically referred to as osteoarthritis, or maybe there's some meniscus involvement. They're all presenting with very similar chief complaints. They're all presenting with very similar functional deficits. Many of them have pain going downstairs. Many of them have pain kneeling on the involved knee. There are they have impaired balance. They have impaired proprioception. Many of them have swelling. These are things that are universal to the condition, and they can be templatized so that we can go through the process a lot faster. So let's jump into HelloNote. I'm using version 2.0. Let me show you how I create a template, and then this will dramatically speed up your documentation process. Here we are inside of HelloNote. If you go over to the far left-hand panel, you're going to go to Settings. You're going to click the drop-down. You're going to come down to Evaluation Note Templates. So once I click on that, you can see I've started a couple different evaluation note templates, one for hip pain, total knee replacement, rotator cuff repair. I'm going to create a brand new one today for non-surgical knee pain. So I click at the top right, create a new template. I'm going to name it non-surgical knee pain. We'll use the default template. HelloNote has a couple different templates in place. We'll just stick with the default. And I'm going to indicate Medicare requirement. I can have it also included in self-pay. I can have it included in PPO, HMO so that it shows up in those areas too. We can also always come back and change this, but I'm going to leave it for Med B and self-pay right now. I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And now it's generated that template. Let's go into the template. So on the far left, we're going to click Actions. We're going to click View and Edit. And what this does is it takes us into this screen. Now, I have a brick and mortar clinic. So by default, I'm going to choose clinic or office. If you're treating patients in the home, you could choose place of service 12. But if we look at the diagnoses, so I'm going to click Select Diagnoses. This is basically non-surgical knee pain. Sometimes you can include difficulty walking. It's going to depend on the case. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to type in M255. That's going to jump me, M25.5. That's going to jump me into this area where these are kind of general pain conditions. I can do this by including left knee pain. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say add to medical diagnosis, add to treatment diagnosis. But then I'm also going to do right knee pain. So I'm going to finish out 6-1, right knee pain, medical treatment. This is the way I like to create my template. So the patient is going to come usually with a single side pathology. If the patient comes to me with right side knee pain, I would rather have both right and left on the template and then just click delete to get rid of the left side. than to have to open a fresh template and then have to choose right or left. So I just choose them both. You're going to see that kind of go through a lot of the options here. Okay, past medical history, surgical history, I leave all of that. That's all going to be unique to the individual. Durable medical equipment. When I created my evaluation template for a knee replacement, I chose forward wheel walker for durable medical equipment because every patient I receive following a knee replacement has a forward wheel walker. I knew that most of them were going to have that device, but for someone with generalized knee pain, they don't usually come with an assisted device, so I'm just going to leave that blank. These boxes here are what will be populated using HippoScribe, the AI technology that we use. So I'm going to leave those blank. This is where we start to get into some of the universal patterns that show up. Now, you can go into each of these individually. So like bed mobility. I can go into that and I can try to indicate some things. For knee pain, a lot of bed mobility is pretty independent. For gait, of course, I could document distance, assisted device, surface. I don't like to put a lot of that stuff there. Weight bearing status, transfers, positioning, wheelchair. All of that is cool. I could use that. But what I prefer instead, Medicare tells us and in fact, let me show you. And this is not just Medicare. I want this to be a universal format, but I still like to kind of have resources in my back pocket for my decision making. So this is CMS Chapter 15. This is down page 167 in the PDF. The evaluation shall include a diagnosis. We already have that. And then one of the following measurement tools is recommended, but not required. Now, the one that I like is optimal from APTA. But a more specific one would be the lower extremity functional index. Since this is a knee pathology, let's go with lower extremity functional index, and I'll show you what this looks like. So it's a series of 20 questions. Some of them are going to be not applicable, like running on uneven ground, running on even ground, making sharp turns. If we're treating a Medicare population, those are not going to be appropriate goals for that population, not because they can't do it, but because those are not covered by the Medicare Benefit Policy Manual. Those are more recreation-based goals. We're focused on Medicare-covered goals if this is a Medicare plan of care. So you've got a couple different ways you can do this. One is you can just take this list exactly the way it is. Okay, one of the things that you could do for something like this, I'm going to download this form. I'm going to save it on my computer. I'm going to go into my Google Drive. I'm going to go, so here's my Google Drive. I'm going to click New, Upload. I'm going to take the PDF that I just downloaded and I'm uploading it into Google Drive. This is kind of a little hack if you don't have access to ChatGPT. I'm going to open the document. I'm going to convert it to Google Doc. Then I'm going to scroll down here and you can see what this gives me is it gives me each one of these sentences. Now, I mean, it's a little bit of legwork here. I understand. But basically what we want to do is we want to take each one of these items. If you're going to do it this way, you're going to come back here. You're going to drop it in. Usually what I would do is I would just ask ChatGPT to do this for me. But as of this recording, for whatever reason, ChatGPT is not working. So I'm doing this manually. Let me pause my screen. All right, guys, welcome back. I'm going to show you here. Let me expand this screen just a little bit. So we've got these. I eliminated the running goals and sharp turns. I'm just going to add the periods in here that I might have missed. Okay, so we've got our goals in there. Now, there's a couple ways we can set this up. So one is we can say prior level of function, and then we can say 4 out of 4. Because if you look at the tool, the way the tool is scored, no difficulty is 4 out of 4. Then we can say vertical line, current level of function. Now, up to you. So, any of your usual housework, school activities, this is a non surgical situation, osteoarthritis. Let's take a look. I would safely say 2 out of 4. They're referred to physical therapy, so we know they're having limitations. Moderate difficulty is a 2 out of 4. Some of the higher function based activities, like walking 2 blocks, might be a 2 out of 4. Walking a mile might be a 1 out of 4. I think I can safely make that estimation now. And then when I'm doing the evaluation, if it presents differently, I will go ahead and change it. But at least this way I have something in place right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy that. Let's add the appropriate spacing. So copy, drop each of these in here. There you go. Now, when we actually print this, it's going to print all into kind of one block of text. But when we're using it like this, it's just really simple for me to come in here, change a 2 to a 1, change a 2 to a 3. I could even just highlight and delete one of them if I don't want it, but at least it's there from the onset. Let's go to the next page. This is where we've got underlying impairments. Again, you can use these drop downs. I'm not a huge fan of these drop downs. I prefer to just do it all kind of organically. Objective findings, things like that. I'm going to put it into my narrative. I don't do any special tests ever. We've got objective comments. That's going to come from HippoScribe. We go to the next one, the goals. The goals are going to be a huge element. And again, they should be predetermined. Where do we get our goals? Oh, we just did all of these assessments. Let's copy that. Now, the trick here is we want those to be, those are function-based goals. I can't just drop it in like that because it's not going to work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to individually grab each one of these goals, bring them over, and I'm going to make the goal for that functional activity back to pre-morbid status, which will be a 4 out of 4. Let me do that, and then I'll bring you guys back into the training once the goals are done. Let me show you guys what I did. I went back into that Google Doc. I grabbed each of these functional activities with the prior level of function, current level of function. Then I retyped them just using copy paste, and I made goal level of function. Now, I know a lot of therapists get bent out of shape because this is, quote, non-specific. This is what I don't think a 4 out of 4 would be objective measure. I don't think this is good quality documentation, but this is what the profession has established as acceptable. This is standard of care. So you can always improve it. You can always turn getting in and out of the bath to something more specific. Not everybody's going to take a bath. I don't even know if that means bathtub. Do they mean bath as in a standing shower in a bathtub? It's just completely nonsensical, but this is what the profession has chosen to accept and embrace. You can make it better. I'm just showing you basic strategy. So what we're going to do now is we're going to grab it, control copy. We're going to come in here. Let's go to treatment plan. Yep, short-term, long-term goals. So I'm going to paste that in there. And when I choose number of weeks, this is a non-surgical knee pain situation, probably going to be a 3 or 4 week plan of care. I'm going to go with 3 weeks. Then I'm going to add, and we're just going to go back and forth. I'm going to grab this, copy, come back in here, paste, number of weeks. I'm going to make this one 3 weeks. So in and out of the bath. I can't stand to say bath, so I'm going to say shower. And I'm going to make this 2 weeks. But something I'm going to do is go back to functional deficits. I'm going to change this to shower. And then I'll come back to treatment plan. So you make these little tweaks for what you believe is most appropriate. We'll come in here, walking between rooms 1 week. We'll grab putting on socks and shoes 1 week. And I like to put all of these down. Now, squatting, to me, squatting alone would be more consistent with an impairment-based short-term goal. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to say squatting while lifting objects from the ground. I'm going to say squatting while, lifting objects from the ground. That would indicate doing it while you're standing. So let's go in here. Let's add this and we'll make that 3 weeks. But then let's go back here and let's find one quick, I can go Control F. I can type in, squatting. And then here I can say while lifting objects from the ground. And I'll get rid of that. All right, let's go back to treatment plan. This one just says lifting objects like a bag of groceries, which is different than squatting to lift a bag of groceries. Something that you can do, performing light activities around the home. Something that you can do is you can always delete. Once you have them in here, again, it's quicker to delete. Heavy activities. I might make this 4 weeks. I might make some of these 6 weeks. And then if I do decide to have a 3-week plan of care, I just change the duration. Getting in and out of a car, say 2. Walking 2 blocks. Let's make this 2, but then walking a mile. We'll make that 6. Up and down stairs. That's going to be a longer duration goal. Let's make it 8. Standing for an hour. Let's make it 4. Sitting for an hour. Let's make it 1. Rolling over in bed. Let's make it 2. Okay, so we've got our goals. Now, impairment-based or short-term goals. So this is typically something, and what I would recommend you do before you put it directly into the software is I would kind of do the same thing here. There's 2 schools of thought. So if you have something like walking between rooms, you might create a short-term goal that would be impairment-based, specifically related to walking between rooms, putting on shoes and socks. So maybe the patient has a swollen bursa behind the knee, and you need to create a goal for that, impairment-based, and then the long-term goal kind of corresponds. That's one way to do it. For me, I'm just going to go down here and I'm going to say single leg balance on involved lower extremity greater than 10 seconds. Let's do self massage with rolling pin or foam roller at home, independent home knee mobility program. So balance strength, let's say pain-free strength reported throughout full available range of motion, overall pain rating reduced to less than 3 out of 10 with activity. These are impairment goals. What else? What else? What else? Balance, coordination, proprioception, range of motion. I don't usually do. Most of my patients have within normal limit range of motion. So I'm just going to start with these. Let me grab these one at a time. Control C to copy, drop it in there. Number of weeks, 1. Copy. Number of weeks, 2. Copy. Usually give this for the first week. Copy. Whoops. Make that 3. And we'll make this 5. All right, we've got our long-term goals. We've got our short-term goals. We come in here. Most of my patients, we do 1 or 2 personal factors. We do 1 or 2 elements. We do stable, and we do low complexity clinical decision-making. For my treatment plan, 97161, we do 97110, 140, 530, and this is knee, so I'll include gait. I don't usually do neuro re-ed, but if I wanted to have the option, I just put it in here anyway. Then we've got prognosis. Generally, it's fair. It's rarely excellent unless it's like a teenage kid. Treatment per week, we're going to go with 2. Duration, we're going to go with 6. Patient education, issued patient, and initial home exercise program, which included self-massage with rolling pin or foam roller. Also educated patient on the importance of hip, knee, ankle, proprioceptive training, and improved single limb balance. That's typically what I do for anything like this. For this section here, what I'm usually using is kind of a more generalized plan of care. And I'll take it right from here. I'll bring that in, and just so you see, recommend physical therapy to control inflammation, facilitate healing, educate patient about condition, improve soft tissue integrity and mobility. This is specific to the knee, so I can say above and below the knee joint. Develop support in related regions. Improve postural awareness. I can say while standing, lifting, and carrying. Facilitate normalized joint tracking of involved knee. Develop balance in length and strength of surrounding muscles. Facilitate stabilization, progress toward functional activities. Ooh, it's a mouthful. Assessment. Now, this is where I will grab straight from the APTA preferred practice patterns. This is for joint mobility. I grab medical necessity, rehab potential. I'm going to copy that. I can put this information in here right now. The challenge is when and if I use HippoScribe to complete my documentation, if I tell it to do something in the assessment, it is going to overwrite this section. So you kind of have to decide on how you want to do something like that. For right now, I'm just going to leave it in here. Even if it gets overwritten, I can always repopulate that area. In regards to the first treatment that was provided, so my evaluation, typically it's 15 minutes. Remember, it's an untimed code. My therapeutic exercise, most initial sessions, I'm doing 15 minutes of manual, 15 minutes of exercise. In this particular case, I'm usually doing 15 minutes of gait training. So if I change it, I will adjust accordingly. But right now, this is typically what I'm doing for my first session. Add a daily note, document medical necessity exists. I wouldn't be doing an evaluation. And again, if I determine it's not medically necessary, what I would do is I would just change that box. But at this point, I think we're done. I'm going to save it. So down here, bottom right, I click actions, save. All right. And that is that. Now let me show you how I use that. So let's pretend I go into patient. Let's go into James Doe. This is obviously a fake patient account. I'm going to click on notes. Let's see if I have anything in here. Okay, so like this one, the case originally was hip pain and leg pain. View action, view note list for that particular patient. There's already a note here, but what I'm going to do is I want to delete that because we're training on this. I'm going to click new, pick evaluation template. I'm going to select my template. It's going to be non-surgical knee pain. Let's load that template. Now I've got the template. So you can see by default, gives me today's evaluation date, gives me the date of the patient's date of birth. This is a not a real patient. I'll indicate that I want time in, time out. By default, it just took the current time on the computer, but I could always overwrite this. So maybe I started the patient at 11. Place of service, by default, all of that stuff's filled out. When I come down here, you can see reason for the referral. This is the stuff that HippoScribe is going to populate. You can see that I've got all of my functional assessment data here. And this is where I was saying it just turned it into one kind of chunk of text. I don't know if I can add special formatting or HTML code in there. I bet I could. I bet I could. That'll allow me to make like breaks in that. But let's just pretend that they fill out the form and now I'm looking at it and the form says for putting on your shoes, prior level was 4 out of 4, current level is 3 out of 4. Okay, so I change it to 3 out of 4. It's that simple. Okay, let me go next. You can see here, we've got nothing particularly mentioned here. We go to the treatment plan. We have our short-term goals. We have our long-term goals. We can change this. Sitting for 1 hour in favorite chair. We can do whatever we want. If I want to get rid of a goal, maybe walking a mile is not a goal, so I just delete it. All of this is filled out. All of this is filled out. All of this is filled out. Now, this is what I was saying in regards to the plan. So this was what I had put in as the plan. Let me show you. I'm going to go, here's the billing under assessment. This is what I had put in for assessment. We've got our timed codes. We've got everything. Let me go back to the first tab real quick. I'm going to open HippoScribe and I'm going to go into my sessions and let me see if I can find something related to knee. So post-op knee, these are visits for knee replacement, or I'm sorry, knee. This one is a knee replacement. I'm just going to use that. These are all fake notes anyway. So I click on that. I come in here and I go to the Hello Note evaluation default template. I click, it's regenerating the information. Let's give it just a moment. And then I'm going to sync to the EHR. So right now I am using the HippoScribe Chrome extension tool. I just told it to sync. I'm going to close. Now you can see this is all populated. with information that came from HippoScribe. One of the things, if we jump out here, let's go. My original plan from the Hello Note template was overwritten by the content from HippoScribe. So that's where I'm saying you need to figure out a couple of things. Now, I could easily go back into my copy paste template. I can grab it. I can come down here. I can put that at the end. I could also choose to not have HippoScribe throw the plan of care into this document. I could just go remove it from the HippoScribe template. The same for this under assessment. I can leave it like that. And I would just come in here, grab what I wanted, copy it, come down here, drop it in there. And then just so you can see what this looks like, I'm going to save the draft and print it. Yes. And let me show you guys. I'm going to stop sharing for a second. And so this is what the final product looks like. It's 4 pages long, but we have a ton of information in here. Here is each of the functional activities, prior level and current level. Here's my objective, my treatment plan, which I need to populate, my short-term goals, long-term goals. You know, we've got the plan right here. That's the treatment plan. I've got my assessment. I've got my APTA preferred practice pattern information. I've got my billing information. So there's a couple things that I want to tweak. I'm going to get with Steve and we're going to talk about some things that we might look at changing here, but that's it.